Can a driver be penalized even if the FIA recognizes that he acted correctly according to its rules? Because that's exactly what just happened to Lewis Hamilton. And what the leaked report reveals could change F1 as we know it. The scandal began as these episodes usually begin, with a disputed maneuver, a decision by the stewards, and an apparently clear penalty. But the clarity ended when the official document of the case was leaked, because what was read there contradicted the penalty in its most essential foundation. Instead of penalizing Hamilton for breaking the race director's notes, as is often the case in situations where a driver cuts his way off the track, the FIA punished him for gaining a lasting advantage. At first glance it seems reasonable. But the same document admitted that Hamilton had no technical alternative to follow the established route, given that he had lost partial control of the car in a maneuver forced by pressure from Verstappen. We are not talking about a childhood mistake. We are talking about an instinctive reaction to a high-speed situation, with lateral pressure, change of surface, and little room for maneuver. Hamilton, upon learning of the decision and even more so, upon reading the terms in which it was drafted, did not hold back. It was not a measured criticism. It was a verbal explosion in the mixed zone. He used words like disappointed, double standards, unacceptable. And this didn't just come from the emotion of losing a podium, it was a frontal complaint to the system. A system that, according to him and many observers, is applied inconsistently, depending on the name of the driver, the team to which he belongs, or the subjective reading of the stewards. What makes this situation much more delicate is that, at the same time as Hamilton was penalized, other similar maneuvers, including Verstappen's during the same sequence, did not even receive a formal investigation. Max cut through the grass in turns 2 and 3, without respecting the mandatory line, and maintained his position without consequences. This double criterion lit up social networks, specialized forums, and sparked a broader debate. Is the FIA really applying its rules under an objective framework? Or are the decisions still, as in 2021, the product of an interpretation that adapts to the media circumstances of the moment? But there is something even deeper. This explosion not only reveals a gap between a driver and the institution that should protect the fairness of the sport. It also reveals that in the modern era of Formula One, where every data is recorded, every movement monitored, and every decision is documented, the FIA can no longer hide behind ambiguity. Fans have access to telemetry, independent analysts break down each sector, and leaked documents go viral in minutes. Authority is no longer unquestionable. And when one of the greats of sport breaks his silence, he is not only speaking for himself, but for an entire fan base that demands clear rules and sporting justice. Therefore, Hamilton in Mexico was not a simple attack of anger. It was an institutional cry. A call to attention to all those who think that decisions on the track are final only because they are signed by the FIA. And if this cry goes unanswered, it could be the beginning of a new era of tension between pilots and regulators. An era where respect is not imposed, but earned with consistency, clarity, and above all, justice. To understand the magnitude of the controversy, you have to travel to lap number 6 of the 2025 Mexican Grand Prix. A lap that seemed to be just the beginning of a battle between two titans of motorsports ended up becoming the crime scene of a regulatory debate that still resonates throughout the paddock. It all started with a duel that promised spectacle. Hamilton, aboard the Ferrari SF25, was in full hand-to-hand combat with Max Verstappen, the man who was his greatest rival in 2021 and who continues to be the yardstick by which excellence on the track is measured. And what happened next is a masterclass in erratic interpretation of the regulations. Verstappen began the attack under braking in turn 1. An aggressive maneuver with a very closed entry line forced Hamilton to open up more than expected, taking him almost to the limit of the outside curb. At that moment, Max not only took the corner with difficulty, but immediately after cut turns 2 and 3 through the grass, returning to the track without losing position. The FIA did not intervene. There was no warning, no investigation, no sanction. But the story didn't end there. Hamilton, in a counterattack maneuver, prepared to launch his attempt under braking in turn 4. Taking advantage of his excellent traction at the exit of the previous sector, he arrived at great speed, but at the critical moment he blocked the front tires. A common reaction under conditions of high pressure and reduced downforce, especially on a circuit like the Autodromo Hermanos Rodriguez, which is located more than 2,200 meters above sea level. That detail matters. Altitude affects both engine performance and braking efficiency because there is less air density to generate effective downforce. The Ferrari SF25 went by. Hamilton did not turn towards the paved loophole which was marked with the yellow line in the race director's notes. Instead, he cut across the grass, crossed the inside of the track and rejoined ahead of Verstappen, who was now momentarily stuck behind Oliver Behrman. From the outside to a casual spectator, it looked like a classic gain position off-piste maneuver. But this is precisely where telemetry and technical analysis tell a completely different story. According to GPS data obtained by media such as Planet F1 and broken down on the Maz F1 channel, the maneuver did not result in a significant time gain. Hamilton's sector time was virtually identical to his previous laps. The advantage was positional, yes, but not strategic or in terms of pace. This calls into question the concept of durable advantage. Because if that advantage is reduced to a position gained circumstantially in the midst of the chaos of an incident, with no real benefit in lap times or overall race pace, then the justification for sanctioning becomes flimsy, at least from a purely sporting perspective. And here another key element comes into play: intention. The FIA regulations, although often based on results, also take into account the intention of the driver. In this case, Hamilton's intention was not to cut the track to gain an advantage, but to avoid a collision or an even more compromised start in an area of low grip. There was no premeditation or tactical planning. It was an instinctive reaction dictated by the physics of the moment, not by the desire to take advantage. If you also consider that Verstappen did not return the position after his own cut in turns 2 and 3, without any repercussions, the comparison becomes inevitable. They both got out. They both benefited momentarily. But only one was sanctioned. The paradox is served. Is it fair to punish an unforced error that does not generate a clear competitive advantage, while ignoring a similar maneuver performed seconds before by another pilot? Where is the coherence? Where do we draw the line between a punishable infraction and a racing situation? Inconsistency in the application of the regulations not only affects the result of a race, it erodes trust in the system. Because when the rules seem to depend on the context or the name of the driver, it stops being a sport with clear rules and becomes a subjective interpretation of events. And this isn't just a problem for Hamilton. It's a warning for the entire grid. If it is established that an action can be sanctioned even when the FIA itself recognizes that the driver could not avoid it and there was no tangible gain, then the door is open to a dangerous interpretation, penalizing according to the visible result, not according to the real causes or the driver's intentions. This incident, seen curve by curve, meter by meter, reveals more than just a controversial decision. It reveals a structural flaw in the way on-track actions are evaluated. And until that failure is addressed with clarity and honesty, the shadow of doubt will continue to be cast over each future sanction. What happened in Mexico between Hamilton, Verstappen, and the FIA is more than a simple disagreement over a sanction. It is an institutional crack. And the most worrying thing is that this crack is not new. It has been there for years, but in moments like this, it becomes visible, it is amplified, and it forces us to ask ourselves a question as fundamental as it is uncomfortable. Who is really in control of Formula One? To understand this fracture, you have to look beyond Lewis Hamilton's helmet and beyond the steering wheel of the Ferrari SF25. You have to look at the power board on which the crucial decisions of this sport are played. In theory, the FIA, the International Automobile Federation, is the body that regulates Formula One. Its function is to guarantee the safety, fairness, and integrity of the championship. But in practice, that authority is not always perceived as fair or consistent. And that is the real core of the problem. Hamilton's complaint was not just emotional, it was political. When he accused the FIA of double standards, he was not just talking about his particular case. This is where the question becomes urgent. Can the FIA sustain its authority in a context where legitimacy is no longer imposed from above, but is built every week in the global conversation? Because in the digital age, scrutiny is constant. Every decision can go viral. Every mistake is archived in the collective memory of millions of fans who no longer passively consume what happens on the track, but rather interpret it, discuss it, and recontextualize it. Hamilton already made it clear, it's not just about him. It's about everyone. And his message has been received with attention not only by the media, but by several teams that have experienced inexplicable decisions firsthand. The fear is real, that Formula One will become a championship where results are not defined solely by what happens on the track, but by arbitrary interpretations of documents, videos, and supposed advantages that never really existed. The silence of the FIA in this case is also a form of response. And in that silence there is a void that someone else will fill. It could be Hamilton. It could be Ferrari. It could be another driver or another team. But if the federation does not take narrative control of what happens, external noise will. And that noise is already growing. Now that the dust has broken and the official report is in the hands of the public, the question dominating all conversations in the paddock is simple. What now? What real consequences will this decision have beyond the immediate result of the Mexican Grand Prix? Let me know in the comments what you think about all this.